Okay, I didn't know it was on. So, hi, Dr. Stewart. I had a little trouble with the voice recording and adding it. I did it over literally 10 times, and every time I tried to add it to my slide, it would disappear. So, I thought that video of me talking about my presentation is better. Since I am video recording, I can't I could probably move it and read the slide. Okay, yeah, I'll read the slide like this. So, my name is Sherelle Turner. I am currently a junior, of course, at Jacksonville State University. My major is social work, and my minor is child development. When I graduate, I do want to move back home to Georgia. Like Alabama, don't love it. I want to work in DHR or something like hospice or where I did my social worker interview at. So, okay, social worker, da da da. So, sorry. Okay. But okay. Yes, so Miss Valina Billups is who I interviewed. She is the social science director. She did attend Jacksonville State University. She graduated in 1990, but she went back and got her master's in 1997 in counseling. And her licensure status is LBSW. So, where I did my social worker interview and information about the facility, of course, Jacksonville Health and Rehabilitation. This is a private nursing home. Um, when I was talking to Mrs. Billups, she said they have 167 beds and only 137 residents, and they do participate in Medicare, Medicaid for yeah, and they are also classified as a profit corporation ownership. What they offer, residential councils, and they are not located inside a hospital. The services they provide: physical, occupational, speech therapy, and on-job training. So the setting of Jacksonville Health and Rehab, there was a, I'm not gonna say odor, but there was a distinct smell. But of course, you're in a nursing home, so I don't know how it's supposed to smell. What I've noticed that there were like two different buildings, so that was kind of interesting. I know one the part that I was in, I guess like the activity side. So the other half was, well, the other building was like the actual like therapy, where the therapy takes place. Um, when I was there, Mrs. Billups told me she was the only social worker there. She told me she doesn't have time to train anybody else, and she's about to um, retire in a few years. So maybe, maybe not. I don't know. More about the social worker. So I'm coming into the interview part, and I'm just going to read straight from the PowerPoint. So you guys can have word by word. And so I asked Mrs. Billups how was a typical day. She basically said she interviews the residents, enters their information in the computer. She does like little activities, and she talks to their families to basically follow up on their progress. And I asked her what was the most challenging part of the job, and she said she feels like there's not enough hours in the day to complete what is required of her. And I said, well, I asked, what is the most rewarding aspect of your job? She said, interaction with the geriatric population and the delight they receive from the visit. So basically, geriatric is, I hope I'm saying that right, but is basically another term for elderly people. And I asked her how she like dealt with difficult clients, because I know there's a lot of like personalities, and people have bad days. So I know sometimes when she's interviewing her clients, it's kind of difficult for them because they're not in the mood. Basically, she said she often does deal with difficult clients, and she will either ask them if they want to talk about it, and if not, then she lets them come back later. And I asked her if she had any advice she would like to give, and she basically told me to see it through, like volunteer in the field that I'm interested in, and have patience, because you have to have patience being a social worker. I asked her, why did you want to do this? Why do you want to work with old people? Well, I didn't ask like that, but she said she's always enjoyed being around the elderly since she was a small child. The love for the elderly contributed to her working in the population she does now. And it was close to home. She needed a job, and they needed a coordinator, and I kind of laughed when she said that. So this part, the examples Dr. Stewart asked us, and ethical challenges and decision making by the social worker in their practice. So what I did for her, since she's like with elderly people and she like talks to their families and stuff, I said basically her patients or her patient's family giving her a gift, and you never know somebody's intentions, I guess. So for that, I put the ethical challenges she may face is the importance of human relationships and integrity. And the second example was how the social worker engages, diversity and difference in practice. The social worker dealing with different patients and some of their healthcare issues, knowing how to deal and go about different challenges she faces on a daily. So my perspectives on the role of the social worker in the medical setting. So I didn't think there were like any dull moments, and when I mean dull, I mean like slow. Like, how you go to the doctor's office and they're slow, like everything's like fast paced, and even though they are elderly, they do walk very fast, and roll really fast in their wheelchair. Is kind of funny. And my perspective on her, honestly, Mrs. Billups, she was awesome. I asked her tons of questions, and she just answered them, and she wasn't like she was willing to do it, and I love that about her. And I do want to do something like what she does. So yeah. And what I like least and the best, well, really the least part I like is the smell, but it's bearable. So I guess it's not that bad. And the best thing I liked was basically just seeing the interactions with Mrs. Billups and her patients. They loved her. They was talking to her. And I could see that they were really comfortable talking to her. And it just made me feel like this can be me one day if I just see it through, like she said. And additional information. So I asked Miss Billups like what she thought and what I thought and everything I gathered from the interview and shadowing her, and we basically came up with poker face. So you do have to talk face to face to clients, and you know and sometimes when somebody's talking to us, we can like toot our nose up or frown, and you have to work on that while you're talking, because that's how you build a relationship with your client. That's how you get them to trust you. That's how you know you get them to open up to you. So if you're up here while they're talking, they're not gonna want to talk to you. So that's one. And another one was knowing the standards. I think that is very important, because there are going to be some situations where you're going to have to take those into account. And if you don't know what to do, it could possibly, not end well. And that is all I, 11 minutes. That is all I had for my PowerPoint. I'm sorry it was so long. I promise that I really, really worked hard, and I really had a lot more, but I tried to stay in the guidelines and talk about what was asked of us. And I am at work. I work at Stadium, so I'm just trying to get it right. And this concludes my presentation. Thank you guys for listening. I know it was kind of long, but I'm ready to see and hear and learn about everybody else's. And thank you, Dr. Stewart.